What's that? You want me to watch a movie about a young brother and young sister slowly starve to death? Psh, yeah, sign me up! Grave of the Fireflies, released in 1988 and is directed by Iso Takahata, who is also behind such films like Only Yesterday, Pompoko, My Neighbors the Yamadas, and The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. And this film is starring the voices of Tsutomu Tatsumi, Ayanyo Shirashi, Yoshiko Shonahara, and Akimi Yamaguchi. I'm just gonna chalk that up to the worst reading of foreign names I have ever done on this channel. Please, just appreciate the effort that I'm putting into it. You know, you get credit for trying, hopefully. But the reason why we're talking about Grave of the Fireflies today is because it was a PayPal donation and recommendation from two of my longest supporters and contributors to this channel, Mr. and Mrs. Rusted Beetle. Again, thank you both so much. This was part of the bundle that you threw in here, and I always love your recommendations because some of them are films that I have seen before, just haven't seen in a very long time. Others are films from other cultures and other countries that I have never even heard of, and probably never would have gone out of my way to see, this being one of them. And what a joyous occasion this one was. So if anyone else out there also want to be like Mr. and Mrs. Rusted Beetle and help support and contribute to this channel, you can make a PayPal donation by clicking on the donate button on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do. And if you have a movie that you really want me to review and give you a shout on the channel for, you can attach your movie with your donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it, review it, and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can for you. It is towards the end of World War II, and the country of Japan is fighting on the defensive. Air raids and bombings are happening constantly, and families are either being wiped out and killed, or they're being completely separated, leaving the parents childless, or leaving the children orphaned. And that's where we focus on with this story. Young Seita and Suzuko are trying to survive in a dying country of Japan. They're first taken in by their aunt, who at first accepts them for their situation, but then starts scolding them and thinking them as a burden. So the two kids set out to build their own metropolis, while in the meantime struggling to keep their bellies full. Yeah, it's a pretty frickin' dark movie, guys! What I really enjoy watching films from other countries is to see the different viewpoints of certain historical events that I grew up learning about in my own high schools and middle schools and my history classes, and to compare the scope of perspective that I was given when I was learning and when I was a kid to what other countries and their scope of perception they had towards the war. And when reading up on this movie, I guess there's a big divide between Eastern and Western viewpoints on what this movie is representing. For me, right off the bat, in the first 10 minutes of this film, introduced to these characters and their situation, and to the horrors and to the heartbreak that were being thrown upon them, this is an anti-war film. This movie is about the side of war that we really don't talk about, or that we don't see. When we talk about wars, we're always talking about the soldiers and the battles between the two, but we don't talk about the cities and the people and the cultures that were caught in between all of the gunfire and caught in between all of the bombs that were being dropped, that were kind of just there and were innocent or were just trying to live their lives, not taking a side on either side. So to see these kids be the product of the ugliness and the just dark side of the war, it tells me that this is anti-war. They are opposing it, and they're trying to show people the ugliness behind it. But apparently the director in interviews has said that no, that's not at all what I was trying to say. He was trying to do a great representation of Japanese culture and how important pride is to Japanese culture. That's how these kids kind of get into the situation that they're in, you know, other than the bombs from the airplanes being, you know, thrown down. They are taken in by their aunt, but because their aunt keeps disrespecting them and chastising them and telling them, hey, you cook your own food if you don't like my cooking, they decide to take it upon themselves to go out and find their own shelter and cook their own food and get their own food and make their own living. But then when times get tough and they get hungry and they don't know what else to do or where to turn to, they are too prideful to go back to their aunt and say, I apologize. No, it's that pride that they're going to hold on to. That's the Japanese spirit that they're trying to exemplify during this war. Yeah, totally didn't get that at all. And I don't claim to be an expert on Japanese culture. Not at all. I'm just going off of interviews that I have read for this review. Don't at me, please. Even though I'm sure there's gonna be some lovely comments on this video. But for it being a sad and depressing movie, it is a beautiful story and it's a beautiful tale. And the animation here, it's that anime style. I'm not the biggest anime fan. I don't dislike it at all, but it's not my go-to animation style, but it's beautiful here. And the subtleties of the animation too, with the fireflies, the actual bugs that they're going after and playing with, sometimes that'll morph into, or sometimes it'll be a subtle little shift where the fireflies change to the embers and to the ash from all the fires and all the bombings, and how that kind of just keeps going back and forth, and you don't really know which one is which, and I think that's very beautiful. The only thing that I have a gripe about the version that I watched, other than, you know, it just being so frickin' depressing, is that I watched it with the English dubbing, and it wasn't that good.
Zeta, help catch the fireflies! You guys seriously?
Yeah, it sounded like Eric Cartman doing his fairy godmother voice from the Tooth Fairy episodes. You remember that?
Hey guys, I'll kick you square in the neck!
That is what this movie was with the English dubbing. So the big advice that I can give you out there, if you are going to check out any anime film, or if you're going to check out this movie, please watch the original version with the original actors. You get all of the original intricacies from their voice performance that was being attached to the animation, as opposed to someone recording over it and trying to synchronize the English language with the mouth movements of the characters in the animation that are speaking Japanese.
It all just sounds so freaking fake, you guys!
I wouldn't say that I would recommend this movie, like, hey, go out of your way to watch this, because it is frickin' depressing. If you're in the mood for watching just a straight drama and, in my opinion, an anti-war film that doesn't focus on battles or soldiers at all, then go watch this movie. If you're not in the mood for a depressing film, put this one aside and forget I ever said anything. I'm gonna give Grave of the Fireflies 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next. And the next one is another PayPal donation and recommendation from a subscriber and contributor on here that's really come into his own this past year with a couple of great recommendations. And they have their own podcast, the Real Feels Podcast. Drew Hallam, thank you so much for the recommendation of Better Watch Out. That's right, it's December 1st, and we gotta kick it off with some Christmas stuff. And this is gonna be the only Christmas movie that I'm gonna be watching in December, because after this recommendation, we're actually gonna be focusing on a lot of Spider-Man movies, because I'm gonna be doing a little countdown to the best Spider-Man movies out there. So if any of you have PayPal recommendations that you want to throw in, please know that I'll probably get to them at the start of the new year, 2022. But again, if you do want to contribute to this channel and just throw out a donation out there, just hit that donate button and I'll greatly appreciate you. So guys, have you seen Grave of the Fireflies? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Better Watch Out. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.